Hey Summoners, how are you doing today? I'm Hat Person, with me is the Red Baron, and today we're finishing up the round of 16 for IPL4 qualifiers. Couldn't do it this weekend, but you know what? We got it for you on the weekday. Last game.
Even better.
Even better. exGBT versus CLG.eu.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'll be perfectly honest. I got to bone up on my EU teams a little bit more, and this is the perfect opportunity. We were just talking earlier, exGBT, they've won 6 Go for Lols.
Yep.
So I'm sure, everyone in the EU community is like, oh yeah, exGBT, they're pretty established. But,
Yep.
it should be an exciting match. CLG.eu, of course, everyone in NA knows about them. And, they are a really top-tier team. A lot of their players have jumped around a lot, particularly Wicked and Snoopay.
Yep.
Froggen as well. But we are waiting a second for Yellow Pete. He's on a mission of the most extreme importance to get himself a sandwich.
You need a snack. You need to be well fed when you do these. You have to be. You need the brain energy. You need the power. You get the energy from your stomach to your fingers. You get to do tons of awesome things in LoL if you're well fed.
Real quick.
We got the resolution. Get ourselves in HD here. Whoa, now we're stretched. There we go.
There we go.
So, a little bit more about CLG.eu. So they've been under the CLG umbrella for about, was it 2 months now?
Yeah,
almost
about 2 months.
Yeah. So, and then they won the Kings of Europe, beating out M5.
That's actually, that's right. Yeah, I remember watching that. That was a really impressive tournament. And the big thing you saw them doing, M5, we know them a lot for really aggressive counter jungling and aggressive kind of tanky DPS kind of play.
Yep.
And CLG, really effectively countering their counter jungle by just, being prepared as a team. Whenever their blue buff is spawning, they go as a team to grab it. Just great team coordination. And it, didn't allow themselves to get caught off guard there. So,
so everyone is in the game. We're about to get ready. So while they're doing that, always remember we are doing our Facebook contest right now, facebook.com/IGN Pro League. We do have our sweepstakes going on for the Riot Points, $25 worth. So just visit our Facebook page, go on the side. There's a little sidebars button that says sweepstakes.
Yeah.
And there you go. Enter to win.
Just that simple. And as always, follow us on Twitter at IGN Pro League, and follow the Twitch. There's youtube.com/IPL4 for our League of Legends content. And the big thing is we're still trying to do highlight videos, and we're not getting enough submissions. So I know LoL Replay's kind of been bugging out, but definitely send us in any highlights that you have. If you have some really cool plays. I'm getting the thumbs up from Buddy outside. He's one of the badasses here at IPL4, and he is our editor extraordinaire. I was like, is Hat going to give me a nudge for? But yeah, so IPL4 replays at gmail.com. Send us in your highlights. We definitely need them. We keep on getting lots of interesting submissions. I'll say, like I just got one where it was a 5v1. Not a 1v5, one person getting a pentakill. It was a 5v1, just 5 of them sitting in the brush, and a person walked into the brush and died. And they were like, "Yeah, there's my highlight."
But no, I know.
Yeah. It's fun. Definitely, send us in your replays. And we'll take a look at them. But
while we're talking, the game is starting.
Yeah,
we are here. So CLG will have first ban, first pick. So just a point of reference, CLG.eu is seeded 2nd in this tournament, right underneath M5, and exGBT, the Polish team, is 15th seeded.
Every time I look at our brackets, I'm just astounded by how stacked they are. Our brackets, we have every single grouping has just ridiculous matchups that we get to watch. This one in particular, we have exGBT versus CLG.eu, and then the winner of this, in order for the qualifying spot for IPL4, is against all authority. So we have, these top EU teams all getting to, match up against each other. Of course, our other, areas, our other brackets are just as competitive. And we're going to have all of that this Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, all day, basically.
Oh, yeah.
We're running 9 a.m. Pacific time, which is 6 p.m. Central European.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 a.m. up until 9 p.m. So we're running a 12-hour tournament bracket. It's going to be intense.
12 hours or until one of us dies, at which point the other one will take over, and then they'll just, something maybe happen naturally.
Just kind of like push them to the side.
Just get out of here. I need to cast. And then following that on Sunday will be round of 4 and grand finals for whoever that may be. So anyone in top 4 in this tournament does go to IPL4. Just point of reference, and then first place does get the fully comped trip.
Yeah, and we should be making our big announcement shortly, but it's already kind of out there that IPL4 is going to be in fabulous Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But we have the rest of the opening bands here. We have Vladimir, Rise, and Morgana for CLG. So I don't know if one of the members of exGBT is, particularly well known for those kind of tanky casters.
Yeah,
it should be interesting. Maybe CLG, if they want to, run a similar tank team, they don't want to have if they want to have like physical DPS, they don't want those tanky casters on the enemy team to shut them down.
Yeah. But I do believe, doesn't someone on CLG play Anivia?
Yeah, Froggen plays Anivia.
Yep. So
and there's the Irelia
band there
as well, the Irelia band.
Yeah. So I think we have a little bit more targeted bands from GBT here. They've done their homework. They know what CLG.eu plays.
Mm-hmm.
But Vladimir, Rise, Morgana, right now in this patch are just fantastic champs anyway. So I think they're more like generalized bands, but still good. And Maokai.
Wicked was angry this weekend because I said Atlanta. He's an American player. Was kind of one of the progenitors of Irelia, and bringing her about. And Wicked was like, "No, Irelia, she's mine. I'm the Irelia player." And he was. It's
she's my girl. Back off.
Simultaneous like evolution kind of thing. But
so Maokai being picked up first for CLG.eu. Wonderful, fantastic jungler. Great at ganks. Twisted Advance. It's wonderful. Definitely top tier jungler right now. And then Gangplank and Kennen for GBT. Kennen quite possibly one of the best APs in the game right now. And Gangplank's always good.
Yeah, I mean Kennen can just shut down any lane. It's kind of interesting, Moscow 5, they've been running a lot of AD Kennen, which works when you've got a really tanky kind of comp. Shyvana is still open though, so I don't know if CLG, really likes playing her. I mean, she's really good, so I'm assuming they do. Maybe they'll play her with Wicked or Snoopy in the jungle.
Yep.
Cassiopeia, definitely another really strong pick, is one of those top tier characters. And the thing with Cassiopeia, we always say she's just strong in all areas of the game, but she's particularly strong against close range comps. And Kennen, as a caster, is a very close range caster. Gangplank, he's melee tanky DPS. So both of them will be countered actually pretty well by Cassiopeia because they're going to have to close the gap. Cassiopeia just throws out spews all of her acid and everything. It's just like, okay, yeah, enjoy walking into it. And then Kennen as well, or Corki as well, just really effective DPS all throughout the game, is an early game kind of nuker, and then scales very well through the late game.
Yep. So then usually, against Cassiopeia, you pick Morgana, but she was banned out by CLG, so what other AP mids are we seeing here that could possibly do something against Cass?
Because exGBT, they have that 5th pick, I would probably save my AP mid for that counter pick.
Okay.
And then they can either run Kennen mid. Kennen, would be a fantastic mid, or they can run Kennen top, depending on whether or not they want Kennen to counter out someone from CLG. So they're really open right now. They could also run Gangplank top. That was my original thought, was that Kennen would be mid and Gangplank would be top. We'll have to see. They have a lot of flexibility in their comp right now. I would expect they're going to pick their DPS and their support, though, and it's probably going to be like Janna, and then maybe a Graves would be a pretty strong pick. Nunu, actually. So we've actually been seeing a lot of EU teams starting to pick up Nunu again, using him as a support.
Yep.
And actually, they are going to pick Orianna, so Kennen is going to be going top, which means that Gangplank is going to be in the jungle.
I could see Orianna going mid, because I feel that she can definitely has the range to poke Cassiopeia, but yet stay away from all the poison.
Yeah, I mean that'll be a pretty even matchup. Orianna, did have her range nerf, but it was buffed back up again, and it's actually a very similar comp to what we saw out of Fnatic. when they actually were beaten by TCM. But game 1, they ran Galio mid, and then they had Kennen and then Nunu as support. And the big thing with Nunu, he kind of just sits there. He throws off his blood boil on the DPS. He will, they will have a very late game DPS, I'm assuming. Someone that scales very well like Sivir. If they got, right now we have CLG already has their DPS, so Sivir for exGBT would just be such a fantastic pick, and they're going to be able to grab that.
Yep.
And then Nunu just throws off the blood boil. Sivir will be such a fantastic late game carry with great sustain damage. They throw off all this AOE damage. Orianna's ult brings them all close together. Kennen flashing in with her slicing maelstrom. Nunu getting in there with absolute zero. So. And then they'll also have a very tanky up front team with Kennen, Nunu, and Gangplank for Sivir to just sustain back there. And I would expect that Sivir would probably be the pick.
Yeah, but still, for most of the early game, Nunu just kind of sits in the bush, gives you the blood boil.
Kog actually works exactly the same.
And an occasional snack. Kog'Maw is actually pretty good. Yeah, I can see that. Kog'Maw for a last pick for GBT potentially. Just waiting for him to lock it in. So
and Kog'Maw makes more sense than Sivir. Misfortune would actually scale AOE well, but Kog'Maw is a lot more single target focused than Sivir is, where Sivir is a little more AOE. But she definitely has great sustain, a little more survivability. Actually, they probably don't need the survivability of like a Sivir. So Misfortune and Kog without any kind of escapes would do pretty well in there, because it's going to be pretty difficult for not Yellow P, he's not going to be playing Riven, for Wicked on Riven or for Snoopé on Maokai to engage on them. So they will have a very strong AoE comp.
All right, so these are your teams for Game 1, the last round of 16 qualifier for IPL4. CLG.eu going Maokai, Corki, Cassiopeia, Soraka, and Riven. exGBT going Gangplank, Kennen, Orianna, Nunu, and Misfortune. So let's take a look at these runes real quick before we hop in.
I'm definitely pretty excited by both of these teams. exGBT a little bit more so, because a lot of their team is focused around Misfortune. They have fantastic AoE. They're going to have great early game control just because of all the synergy that they have in team fights. But then both Gangplank and Nunu will have those buffs for Misfortune. So if she gets farmed, she's going to be really devastating later in the game, and it should be pretty easy for her to farm in that lane. I think she's generally pretty safe. Corki and Soraka, though, is a very strong lane. This isn't, this is the previous patch, so Soraka hasn't had the changes yet, so she's not like the infinite mana spam for your ally. But Corki, even so, will be able to just spam those abilities all day in that bottom lane and potentially take control of that lane. That's really going to be key.
Yep. I'm waiting to see what Orianna is going to be doing. But for now, though, game is going to be loading up. We're going to go to a quick commercial break while it's loading. So CLG.eu versus exGBT, Game 1, round of 16 qualifiers for IPL4. Be right back. Welcome back, everyone. These are this is the last bit of the round of 16 qualifiers for IPL4. I'm Hat Person. With me is the Red Baron. Game 1, we have CLG.eu versus exGBT. And I'm really enjoying this Orianna pick. I'm really curious to see how well she does against Cassiopeia in mid.
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely, not her former glory. I mean, Orianna was just like an insta-win at one point. I'm sure everyone, remembers those terrifying days. But she still is very effective. They did buff her range back a little bit. So, she can throw off that AoE ultimate in the middle of the team fight. Cassiopeia should have pretty good control over that mid lane. So as long as Orianna can get an early blue, potentially, she should be able to farm very effectively, just clear out those creep waves. But then talking about CLG, we actually see them coming up here. It's a little bit concerned if maybe an invade, or maybe they're actually planning on coming down for this blue. But Maokai is going to be starting at his Wraiths. He did throw off the early sapling here for a little bit more protection, since it's very common to attack Maokai when he's at these Wraiths. Yeah. But we'll have to see whether or not they go very aggressively for Maokai's blue and are able to take that.
So, I mean, GBT, if Maokai does decide to go his usual route, go for Wraiths, you can just swoop in, take blue, swoop out.
I'm actually 99% sure they are actually going for this blue, because we do have the early ward here from Liebig. And so that will allow them to know that Maokai's not going to go over to their blue when they're, countering his. But Wicked is definitely going to want to watch out what kind of path he takes up here, because he could potentially, run into some trouble there.
Yeah, he is kind of soloed out there. Basically, just the sacrificial watchdog if things do happen to go around. 150 spawns at 155. They should be going down momentarily, but they're getting ready stuff. They're getting the buff ready for Snoopy, but here comes GBT. They see them. They're backing out. Wicked getting pretty chunked there. But the blue is secured. Mokade is actually going to go ahead and take that up top lane. Or mid? Where's he going?
Yeah, he's they're actually going to be swapping. Wow, so this is really aggressive play. Not only is Snoopy really going to be behind in the jungle, he's, really mana dependent.
Yep.
But Wicked is going to have an exceedingly difficult time. I was actually going to say Kennen versus Riven is actually a pretty even lane. Kennen definitely has the advantage in that lane.
Yep.
She, has the range to harass. She's one of the strongest laners in the game. But in that top lane, Riven can use this brush very successfully and then get a lot of burst off of on Kennen. And if Riven, gets any sort of early advantage on Kennen, then he can very easily take over that lane. But in this situation, they're just going to be looking to shut him down. And if he's not getting any farm, it could be very difficult come mid game.
Libic on Nunu is just being the biggest jerk in the world top lane, just laughing, taunting right in Wicked's face, like, you got two people up top lane, you can't do anything. I'm gonna blood boil, and that's how top lane's gonna be going for a little while, because Riven can't really do much about this until the creeps push the tower.
Yeah, and Soraka's actually going to be coming up. Corki versus Kennen is a pretty even lane. Kennen has, I would say kind of a slight advantage, but Corki definitely has lots of burst. The only thing is that Kennen doesn't have the mana to deal with. But once Soraka gets up here, Wicked should hopefully have enough sustain that he'll be able to be okay in this lane. He probably needed to start with Cloth and 5 health pots, but he expected to be going against Riven. And in that situation, the mobility helps you out a little bit more to be able to get in some burst damage and avoid the harass.
That plus all the time it took for Crepo to come up top lane, help out Riven. Look at how many creeps Misfortune's already gotten. It's 21 creeps to 6. That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, and we see Froggen being really aggressive mid as well, has harassed down Orianna quite a bit. She's pushed back to her tower, so she should be okay generally. But before she can just clear, she will be struggling for some of these creeps against the tower.
Yep. So Mokade is going around. He does have the enemy blue and his own red, so he should be going out and secure his own blue and make sure that Maokai cannot come around and steal it. And bot lane, Kennen, Corki doing their things. The creep scorers, so Yellow Pete has a little bit of an advantage for now. We'll see if Kennen decides to bounce back later on, and Orianna getting pushed a little bit in mid.
It's very difficult to stop Corki from farming. I was talking earlier about how Kennen might have a slight advantage because of the mana, but regardless, Corki should farm pretty effectively. It's just it'll probably be turning into a free farm lane down bottom.
Snoopy is recognizing GBT's aggression. Wicked comes in with the stun on Mackler. Misfortune has to run away, but Snoopy comes in twisted advance on Misfortune. It should be able to finish it off. Use the flash. First blood for Snoopy.
Yeah, and that's, I was actually about to go into the strengths of Maokai. We were talking earlier, you had mentioned that Maokai, he's that very aggressive early game jungler, but he's also going to provide them with lots of, anti-AoE. That's really his biggest role later in the game. And we do have a very AoE heavy team from exGBT, though they will have lots of single target DPS with Gangplank, with Misfortune and all the buffs that they'll have. But, if they can survive through the anti-AoE, then Riven, in a long sustained fight, is one of the strongest, DPS or melee DPS champions in the game.
Yep.
And then, Cassiopeia as well. And then, Cassiopeia, Corki, Riven, and then Soraka for the long sustained fight. So if they can survive through the AoE, then they will actually probably win the longer engagements. Yep.
The key word in that statement there is if they can survive, because remember, every single ult on GBT is an AoE ult. Every single one. So now we'll see if they can get the better of it. So Snoopy is continuing. Ray's going to be working his way, possibly go around for attempted gank. He's going to go ahead down and go get the small golems. And yep, mid is it's Froggen has a little bit of an advantage mid, not too much at the moment, but he does have 6, so he does have the ult in case Orianna just decides to show her face.
And we actually see Riven and Yellow Pete and Crepo here. They're swapping for CLG.eu, expecting Kennen to be in this bottom lane, and exGBT expecting that situation will swap as well, and now they're actually going to have an advantage for this Dragon if Gangplank comes down. Gangplank's pretty good at taking Dragon early, but they'll have a 4v3 opportunity along with the control that Nunu provides, so they could potentially go for a really early Dragon if Gangplank makes his way down. He'll probably want to recall first. He should have enough. Let me see if he has enough gold for... he will have enough for a Madreds, so
Yep.
that'll definitely help them with clearing that. They'll have very fast, clearing speed.
Yep. So as we see our characters just now starting to get their ultimates, we're seeing that Froggen is actually he's taking command of mid, and he's now effectively able to push Zaru back enough to get the pretty decent creep lead. So we'll see how Orianna fares in the team fight. But the situation is as far as right now, Mako's being stunned upon by Wicked, but Crepo actually taking quite a huge chunk in the meantime. So I think it's more of a statement. You might want to back off, otherwise you're going to lose your Soraka.
Yeah, they do have the better sustain in lane though with the Soraka. So
yeah.
As long as they can burst down Misfortune, okay, they will be okay in that situation.
Mm-hmm.
And Soraka coming down, of course, does provide them a little bit more fight control. Cassiopeia is very strong at controlling Dragon. But we actually have, once again, Riven just getting off a little bit of harass onto Misfortune here. Going to take a little bit too much damage because, wasn't really expecting Nunu to come in at that time.
Right now, Snoopy is actually coming around back up top, trying to get something down on Ken. Advance goes down. Corki comes in. Kikis has no option but to blow the ult. Will he get away? Missile! No! Potion. Thought I was going to get there. Yellow Pete gets away pretty clearly.
Yeah, and if they can, take any early laning advantages, that'll definitely help CLG a lot. They definitely are looking more for a kind of late game. We actually do see exGBT going for this Dragon now, and we have the Wriggles on Gangplank.
But it seems like Froggen may have an idea getting in that tri-road.
And Orianna, she's actually pretty good with her passive at dealing damage to Baron, but her biggest strength is zoning. So it wasn't really an issue. They just took a free Dragon there, but
yep. Froggen knew, but couldn't do anything about it. You have a smite, you have a consume pretty good, but Mako's actually getting really caught out of position, and the ult from Riven will finish her off. Ah, unfortunate.
Riven does have a lot of bursts. So.
Yeah. So that was a risk at taking Dragon, but still, your Dragon's worth about 2 kills. So got a Dragon, gave up a kill. You're still out ahead. And the ult coming in from Zaru, trying to get the ignite in on Froggen. Flashes out of the way, the ultimate and gets it.
Yes.
Dodge. Nice stuff. You predicted when Froggen was going to use the ult, flashed out accordingly. Wonderfully played.
And she, did steal that blue buff from Cassiopeia, so that'll definitely help her out in lane. Yeah. But
even that, GBT's blue is actually delayed since Gangplank took it so late, so they should actually have a second blue momentarily.
Oh, actually, I think I'm mistaken. Actually, that must have been her own blue. She must have just gotten it a second ago.
Well, either way, it's if she had it or if she didn't, she's gonna have it for longer.
Oh, you're right. No, it was.
There it is.
I thought it was Cassiopeia's blue. So she stole Cassiopeia's blue, and she's gonna have her own. You're right.
Yeah. So GBT's a second person having blue. I mean, Gangplank could just keep it for himself, be a little bit of a jerk. But right now, Mackler is still engaging here on Crepo. So many chunks of bullets being lodged. And right now, Kiki's actually being right in the top lane. Has to pop the ult. Yellow Pete taking quite a bit of damage. Kiki's going to go into the bush. Dodges the missile inside the bush. Health potion is not going to be enough, though. This is a blind fire. Didn't even need to see him.
Yeah, and Ken should be okay with stuns to kite Corki, but Corki just being extremely aggressive, has those nukes, and is able to successfully get in there. I'm a little bit surprised that Levique isn't just dropping a Warden here, but they are going to push past this brush pretty soon, so it's not really a concern.
Yeah, Kiki's is actually being a little bit, I think, too aggressive than he needs to be up top, because when he sees himself pushing out, Snoopy came in earlier for the pretty easy gank on him. So I would highly recommend, he teleported in back up top, so he's already back in the lane. But the aggression is, it's a little bit too much right now. You got to be careful because you're giving up free kills. He's already down too.
Yeah, I would definitely say that exGBT has a significant advantage in the early team fights, but Riven extremely strong in lane, Cassiopeia one of the strongest laners in the game. Yeah. So they're taking these early advantages, and then Corki, doing extremely well against Kennen. they're taking these early advantages, and it, you know, if they can get some early gold, then clearly it would be very difficult for exGBT to recover. Though, you know, we'll see. I think once they start grouping up and taking more objectives, it'll be a completely different story. Dragon will be up in about another 2 minutes.
So right now, despite having a 3-kill lead, gold is actually quite even. You know, GBT does have a dragon to their name, so everything's definitely even out. And their farming is it's not too shabby actually.
The concern, though, even though the gold's even, it's where the gold is placed.
Yeah.
And right now we see that Corki is, you know, definitely doing pretty well. Orianna actually slightly ahead of Cassiopeia, of course, for getting the kill, and then also the dragon. But Corki, you know, will start having some big items shortly, particularly if, you know, she continues doing very well, or he continues doing very well in top lane.
Yep. So now Kiki's is actually being pushed to tower top lane. Defensive the way probably should be playing it right now. Wicked trying to see where everyone here in GBT is. Does Soraka have any wards? No, she does not. She is wardless. Riven is the only one who has wards though, so she's going to be possibly placing some offensively or even in the tri-bush area for incoming ganks from Gank. Gangplank actually hasn't been doing too much. Like his presence has been there. He got the help for the dragon, but gank-wise, he hasn't really been too active. But that top bush is warded, so they know the is there. Right there, ultimate Gangplank going on. Gang is slow off. Nunu slow also goes down, but it's not going to do a whole lot.
And Riven is pretty defensive in lane, is able to get out of there pretty easily.
Yeah.
But the one thing, Gangplank's actually kind of weird. He used to be one of the strongest junglers in the game. He's not really a common pick in the current jungle. He does provide them, you know, the great team control, but he's really one of those late game farming junglers. So we wouldn't expect him to gank as much. He's not really that aggressive at early ganks. He does have the slow if he can get in there.
Yeah.
But primarily, he's just going to be looking to get farmed, and he's doing an okay job so far.
Yeah, I think he's more there to help the rest of the team get those quick and easy dragons whenever the opportunity presents itself.
Well, he also, his ultimate provides them an excellent means of initiation. They can just throw it on the ultimate. The slow will allow them to catch up in order to chain these stuns of Kennen and Orianna and then throw in Nunu. So, you know, the movement speed plus the potential for initiation is really high on exGBT once they start, you know, kind of getting out in the open and out of this laning phase.
So we're 14 minutes in. Gold still pretty even. CLG.eu has a small kill lead. But the farming to dragons from GBT has somewhat nullified that. And next dragon should actually be coming up relatively soon.
Yeah, it's about 15 minutes, so it should be here any second. I was about to say Soraka needs to get back and get some wards. She did, so she'll be able to place them right before they spawn. But they definitely need to start grouping as a team. And we actually see Yellow Pete coming down, you know, to join his team, which is definitely going to be key for this, you know, second dragon here.
So everyone's converging. It is just spawned. Crepo places the ward just on time, but the GBT I feel has the superior position now just for the next few seconds, because you see Snoop is actually getting a little bit aggressive, poking out there trying to tank some of the damage, but the CLG has actually placed some, they have some pretty good ward placement, so they will know when GBT's in on the approach. Okade is actually going to be there taking the point, trying to soak up some damage.
I would almost say for CLG, they need to just sit in lane and allow exGBT to kind of get in position for the dragons so that they can see if they can split them into two groups, because that's where CLG will succeed in these team fights. If they can split exGBT into two separate groupings rather than one large AoE, because the AoE of exGBT will just absolutely decimate CLG right now.
Yeah, GBT actually for a second there was actually quite spread apart like you were saying, but now they've recovered. But they've all gathered by their own blue. They've given up the position in front of Dragon to CLG. But
we have
engaged. Kikis comes in, flashes in for the ult. Doesn't get what he needs. But Wicked comes in. Nunu ult going down, but he should be melted pretty quickly. Molt from MF is going down, and everyone from GBT is actually just being slowly picked away. That was just Kennen did not get anything with that ult.
Aggressive.
Kennen did not get what he needed from that ult, and Magler is now actually being caught out by Wicked. That's unfortunate. That is an ace.
And it's really,
you saw... Oh, wait, no, Gangplank got away. Gangplank got away, barely.
Surprisingly, they forced the engage without using Gangplank. And so CLG was able to kite them. Kennen's ultimate did almost nothing. They were all split up. Kennen went down to the team, and then all of their ultimates were kind of wasted without doing a lot of damage to CLG. Whereas what they needed to do probably was have Gangplank come up, start doing Dragon, force CLG to engage, and then once CLG is grouping up and engaging, coming into that Dragon, then you can turn on them. You have to start with the Gangplank ultimate, in my mind, to slow them and get them into that AoE.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Kennen kind of jumping in a little bit prematurely. And I don't know, that's huge. 8-1 right now, a 3k gold advantage, almost 4k.
Yeah, the Kennen ult with the actual hard stuns is supposed to be the icing on the cake for the AoE party as it is. So you start off, you get the slows with your Nunu, or you get everyone to bounce in from Orianna, or you get the slow from Gangplank, and then Kennen flashes in, runs in, gets the stuns on the already slowed enemies. You don't start out like that. You don't go in for the stun and prevent them from escaping, because you're trying to get them to run so you can then catch up and finish them off. If you get them with the stun early, you're like, you know what, we have nowhere else to go. We might as well just fight this out, because we already know we're not going to be going anywhere with these slows. Yeah,
I mean, you have all these great, late game kind of carries on CLG, and they're all getting fed, getting their items. Riven, as long as Riven gets tanky enough, is just going to be able to be extremely aggressive and tear through exGBT. If Riven can force an engage on the Misfortune, where she can't, sit there and be dealing the DPS that she wants. You saw that last fight; she was hardly involved. She had to flash over the wall, and then just throw off her AOE, and it was meaningless. But if they can get, just chase her down where he's tanky enough that he can do that, then that'll be great. Maokai actually coming in onto Mukhape. They are going to get out of there. It's not the best engage for them. They are pretty fed. Corki does have that red buff, but it is a 4v3. And in the meantime, Kennen just holding down bot lane.
Yeah, Kennen is, quite behind in kills. And right now, Wicked actually trying to do something in that Mackler, but will just go ahead and queue away. But and bottom is actually being pushed really quite. They're going quite on the offensive from CLG to just take out bot, since Kennen's already somewhat weak. You can go ahead and get away with it. Mokata actually getting twisted advanced by Snoopy, but being just out of tower range. And right now the ult from F may actually be enough for Snoopy. Look, he's about like 200, 300 health. Has to throw down the ult, and we'll just get dove. The ult from Riven does what it needs to against Nunu.
How many kills can Wicked pick up?
Then that will be it. So got 2 for that one, but Mokade is there still alone at top, but Yellow Pete is quick behind.
Yeah, they probably could have alternated tanking that tower a little bit better. So
this is kind of like, we were engaged, so we might as well hope it works out for the best. It wasn't the full heart was not in that dive. Like, they weren't completely committed, but they were there, so they might as well.
And we see, CLG just they have their farm generally. They want to, continue their advantage, so just aggressively pushing. And they are pretty close to a point where a couple of the members of CLG could split push and know that they're strong enough, to just take anyone on. I mean, Corki could, kind of sit off on his own. They don't have a teleport, so that's the one concern. As these later fights happen and we have more objectives, Kennen will be able to kind of just sit in lane with somebody and then, provide them with the team fight advantage with that teleport. But even so, they can, kind of split up as a team right now, knowing how strong they are separately.
So 20 minutes in, CLG has now taken quite a bit of a lead after a very convincing team fight and a dragon. So they're about 3k up, and Wicked was in the bush waiting for the engage, just melting. Oh, misses the ult on Mackler, but Corki will go ahead and pick it up. Okade just barely gets away from the Corki missile. Wow. Wicked was just there, just waiting. He knew. He knew.
Yeah, that's just devastating. And you see Wicked actually picking up a Hex Drinker. They do have all of that, magic AoE damage. So for him to just, once their ultimates are down, they don't have anywhere near the sustain that CLG has. So, he will be able to survive there.
Mid lane Orianna is actually a little bit too far out. Does have to flash away from Froggen. Shrelia is going off from Crepo. Really wants to get that silence. Get that silence.
I think he's waiting for Wicked to flash over this wall here and try and hunt him down. But
it was like, Soraka, I'm running after you. Don't get silenced. Just wait. Just chasing at you with bunches of bananas.
Is devastating. She's going to be looking to take down the entire team by herself later in this game.
I just running after. It's like, no, I have all these bananas to give you. Come back. Come back. So, so I'm still worried about Kennen because well we have our Woda, and we have we actually got an easily large rod. So I mean, despite being down 3 kills, has actually gotten quite well farmed. But I worry about the future teamfight engagements because, like I said, the Kennen ult for GBT needs to be the icing on the cake.
Well, I mean, she is very close to finishing that Zonia's. It's just 1,500 gold. She could sell that cloth armor. She'll have it pretty shortly. And once she does, then she will be able to be a little bit more aggressive in these engagements. It will be really key on them forcing the good initiation. They can't just sit there and throw off their ultimates. When was the Dragon? Dragon was 9:15. So Dragon actually should be spawning shortly. So any second now, and the CLG definitely in the prime position to take it. Kennen going to come up and push this down this top lane and does have the teleport, so as long as CLG's all grouped underneath this Dragon, they could engage, but they're actually not going to go for it. They kind of recognize how strong CLG is right now, and that's really unfortunate because they have such a strong early game team that they have to sit back and just allow CLG to take objectives.
Yep. So I mean, now you see like a lot of late game fights center around forcing Baron, but this is something I don't see. Now we're forcing the early fights at Dragon. Both teams are very avid about getting quick early gold advantages, and actually both teams are actually really good at taking down Dragon. Like we got Cassiopeia, we got Corki for quick burst damage. You have Gangplank with the Wriggles. You have Nunu with Consume. These are really two just very quick Dragon teams.
And that's also going to factor into Baron later, where CLG, they probably have enough of an advantage where they don't really want to pressure Baron, because the concern is they do have great Baron damage. If they have an opportunity, yes, they can take it. But the concern is if CLG comes in here and forces the Baron, it will give an excellent opportunity for exGBT to engage, and that would kind of be the one thing that would really break CLG right now, is if Kennen was able to pick up that kill.
So right now we're about 24 minutes in, so CLG has grabbed themselves yet again another Dragon, and now really pushing the advantage, knowing that they can go ahead and engage on Dragon, and GBT cannot do a thing. But they're trying to take down mid, they're trying to force it down, but they cannot crack through that defense. 5k up.
We do see Orianna has finished her Rabadon, so they will have a significant amount of magic damage in these fights. Maokai did pick up an Aegis, so that magic resist for the team will help them out as a whole. And then Cassiopeia, she knows that they already have significant amount of damage output. Once again, going for further sustain. So will the Ancients, and then realize to kind of chase people down, since they are kind of low on disables. They really only have Wicked and Snoopé. So definitely pretty good decisions all around.
Can we check MF's Bloodthirster stack?
Oh,
actually,
wow.
no, never mind. Staros gets in with the ultimate on Karepo, Froggen. They're both going down. They're both in the cone from MF's ult. Nunu ult going down. Full proc goes off. Okada going in, trying to chase down Corki. Needs to get one more parlay. Does not do enough. Does not crit, but they will take this mid tower and a kill.
Yeah, and Wicked is going to be actually coming in here, going to be able to pick up a kill potentially, but actually he's probably going to go down, trying to grab Kennen here. There she goes. This is actually a really good opportunity for them to take Baron. If they go do it immediately, they need to hurry.
Yep.
Because CLG will still be pretty strong if they engage on a 5v3. So I'm a little bit surprised that we see them kind of stalling a little bit here. But
see, I mean, I was a little bit worried also about backward, because MF died 5 times, has a Bloodthirster, but remember, Bloodthirster stacks do go away when you die. How many stacks does that have on it right now, actually?
MF?
Yeah, Bloodthirster.
It's halfway.
Okay, it's halfway. So despite the deaths, it is already halfway back up. And CLG knows GBT is doing Baron. They're going to try to do something, and Orianna actually getting completely chunked out by Yellow Pete. Maokai steals the Baron, finishes off Mokade, and now they're in chase. Shirelia is going off. They have a second one if they need it. Orianna goes down, MF goes down, and Nunu getting caught out. Kikis will probably get away, but that is just... they could not take it down quick enough.
And the big thing there, I don't think, I mean, they knew that they were going to have to face CLG taking down that Baron.
Yeah.
They did kind of stall a little bit in the beginning. If they had run straight there, I think they would have had it a little bit sooner. That would have helped them.
Yeah.
But then Orianna, she really needs to focus on zoning the enemy. I mean, she's not tanking the Baron at all. So she needed to, start using her abilities to not allow CLG to engage. Her ultimate, of course, wasn't up at the time.
Yeah.
But you can still use your, QW combo to kind of give yourself some room. And then the big thing is their melees needed to step up closer to Baron, because when you're standing like right on top of Baron, he automatically targets the melees all the time. But when you're standing off of Baron a little bit, he starts to target your ranged occasionally, and a couple of them actually got hit before that engage and did get a little bit low, which unfortunately allowed Corki to just come in and just clear them out almost immediately. It was surprising how much damage they were able to do.
Yep. CLG now has a commanding lead, 10k in gold. They have a stolen Baron buff. They're just going to go ahead and slowly push down all the remaining towers they have not gotten already. Could be they're just going to go ahead and also just ravage GBT's jungle while they are at it. Okade, I don't think you'd want to go down there. It's bad news bears if you go down to your own blow.
And the big thing is exGBT, we saw they still do have a very strong team fight team. They won that previous fight pretty spectacularly. But they don't have a means of engaging. They have the Gangplank ultimate, but CLG can just play really defensively right now. They have the inhibitor down. They can move back and forth between this mid and the bot lane, drawing exGBT all over the place, not giving them an opportunity to engage, and then trying to pick people off since they are stronger in smaller engagements. So unfortunately, because exGBT has no means of forcing the issue, of forcing a team fight to happen, their whole strength is just completely nullified right now.
Yep. So, in order for GBT to win these team fights, they have to go ahead, engage, and get kills before Wicked comes into the picture. Because that last team fight at that tower, we saw Wicked come in late. Dio was not really present during that last fight, so they were able to take it pretty convincingly then. But now CLG has Baron buff. They're just going to go ahead, keep on pushing it as much as they can, waiting for creep waves. They should be able to take this tower and inhib. There's already one inhib down for GBT. And this wave, I would not be surprised if CLG just went in for the dive.
Yeah, I mean, exGBT, they probably need to just have an all-out fight, see if they can get him. There is Orianna with the ultimate, the Gangplank ultimate as well, and then Kennen coming in. But Kennen can't get anything off. She had her ultimate and her Zonias, but Riven with the perfectly timed stun, and now they're going to be chasing them down. Yellow Peak potentially going to be grabbing some kills. Actually just going to back off, but they at the very least will get another inhibitor, and this is basically GG. Yeah. Hardly anything that exGBT can do right now, and I think they had a potential if Kennen could have gotten those kills off, but unfortunately he wasn't able to, I don't know, get the right engage, and he probably needed to flash in and not give Riven the perfect stunning opportunity, but excellent play by CLG so far.
Fantastic, fantastic stuff. You're going to go ahead and just clean up the rest of the towers. And then they'll see now we're at the point where CLG is just so far ahead. They can just go in for the slow push.
Well, and the big issue is, other than Kennen and Nunu, all of their ultimates are down. So
yeah, there's not a whole lot that GBT can do to prevent this slow pushers. CLG, how much time they have left on Baron buff? Actually, just expired. But you know what? They've already gotten what they needed from Baron. They've gotten their push, they got their towers, they got their inhibitors. Shroya's just going to go ahead, play it safe. They're going to take the dragon. And
it's really just really impressive play by CLG all around this game. We started off, it seemed like exGBT kind of had their number. They had everything picked right. They had, a pretty good team comp. They sent up the, DPS and support Makir and Libic up against Wicked to prevent Riven from farming, which was just a great decision. But once Soraka came up for CLG, Crepo there, they were able to just take, those kills early. Kennen dying a couple of times to Riven, getting Riven fed, and then just able to successfully split exGBT in these fights. And CLG was able to take very early advantages and just roll with it.
Yep. So you see, Kennen bought the Woda before getting the Hourglass. The Hourglass, allows you to be invulnerable in combat just for a few seconds. And we saw, Kennen was just charging into the fray as soon as all the slows started going off. And CLG just knew, you know what, if we don't focus Kennen, we're all going to get stunned and die. And I feel that rushing Hourglass first may have been a better option.
I mean, she definitely, Kennen, God, I have such a problem with genders here. Kennen's gender neutral in my mind. Kennen's neither. I know Kennen's a he. He's like Yoda. But Kennen, I don't know. It's definitely he got Zonia's at the right period in time in that game. It was the good play. You get Will of the Ancients early to be able to sustain in lane, and then Kennen can be really strong in lane. Kennen was actually struggling a little bit, which makes Woda even a better purchase. It will, allow you to control that lane a little bit more effectively. The big issue is they just weren't able to get the fights that they wanted, and they lost all the early engagements. And CLG was just so fed by the time that it's tough to say. We do have the ultimate from Gangplank going off, but Kennen with that, or Koki with that range poke, and then CLG Wicked jumping into the middle of the fray, flashing onto the team, and just basically exploding all of them. Yellow Pete going to be able to grab Gangplank underneath that tower.
Yeah, that's nice, and that will be it. This is it. This is GG. CLG.eu will take game number 1 versus exGBT in the round of 16 qualifiers, our last one.
Yeah,
so
this
good
is a
job.
best of 3 though, so
Yep,
so everyone's clear.
Yep, this is a best of 3. So if CLG.eu wins the next one, they'll move on to the round of 8. So once again, thank you all for joining us today. This is the last set in the IPL4 round of 16 qualifiers. And as always, remember, we're gonna get game 2 ready. But in the meantime, if you haven't done so already, we do have a RP card contest going on, $25 worth to be precise. Just gotta hop on Facebook, facebook.com/IGN Pro League. All the details right there. If you want to follow us on Twitter @IGN Pro League, or if you want to, if you want to stalk us, that's the Twitter information you need right there. And I'm curious now to see what GBT is going to be doing game 2 because the AoE comp didn't quite work out for them. So I want to see if they're going to try something different for game 2.
And it's kind of weird. It's unfortunate when you have a game like that because I don't think that necessarily their comp was that wrong. I think that probably the only big change they might like to do is switch out Gangplank for a more aggressive early jungler.
Yeah.
I think their comp was pretty strong, but they lost regardless because they gave up early advantages. And that kind of a game, you really don't learn anything. You don't get some great profound understanding of where your flaws were. Maybe a little bit early aggression from the jungle would allow Kennen to beat Riven if they could get some aggressive ganks in there, and Gangplank unfortunately can't do that.
Yeah, like all Gangplank really did early game, I'll help you take Dragon, and I'm just going to go right back to the jungle and do my own thing. I'm just going to be alone for a little bit.
And if they had been able to stall, better, then it would have been a pretty successful pick. I think he added a lot to the team. There was a good understanding of what they were trying to accomplish in team fights.
Yep.
They just weren't able to do it, and I think maybe the issue is that Gangplank should have been a top lane. And then instead of running both Orianna and Kennen, having a more aggressive jungler that's some great single target pickoff, someone like Maokai not allowing CLG to grab that Maokai pick, or like a Lee Sin potentially, or Skarner if they're looking to kind of snowball early. Though it seemed like they were really comfortable with just holding off and allowing the late game fights to come to them.
Or I think even we could have just done something silly, just have Nunu and Gangplank swap places. That could have done something too. But so while we're getting everyone in the game ready for game number 2, you can go ahead, take a bathroom break, take a snack break, take whatever you need. This is it. Game number 2, CLG.eu versus exGBT, round of 16 IPL4 qualifiers. We will be back in a moment. Stay tuned.